Hey everybody, just wanted to talk with you about how to get ready for this Sunday's sermon at PBC Baptist Church. We're going to keep walking through the story of Jonah, and we'll be in Jonah chapter 1, primarily focusing on verses 7 through 10 as the storm escalates and Jonah's sin and his running from God gets exposed to the sailors on the ship. I wonder if you've ever thought about what the greatest threat to our mission to make disciples of all nations, what the greatest threat is to that mission. Maybe you think that the greatest threat to us actually being the evangelistic people or the missionaries that God called us to be is, maybe it's the encroachment of liberalism or secularism in the Western world. Maybe you feel like the greatest threat is that you just don't have enough information, or you haven't been trained enough to know how to share the gospel with your friends or neighbors. Or maybe for you, you feel like the greatest threat is the mistreatment, or maybe you might even call it the persecution that you might receive or face for telling someone else about Jesus. Maybe you think the greatest threat is that we just don't have the good enough events to try to attract lost people to the local church. Or maybe for you, the greatest threat is that our churches just don't have enough relevant worship gatherings or worship experiences that somehow attract lost people and make the gospel appear compelling. I want to suggest to you from the story of Jonah this Sunday that the greatest threat to our mission to make disciples of all nations is the never-ending temptation to forget the good news of Jesus Christ. We are always and regularly tempted to forget the gospel, to forget grace, to become amnesiacs that once remembered what it was like to be saved by grace alone, through faith alone, in Christ alone, and now we've somehow begun to think that we could deserve this or earn this. We've forgotten grace. That's the same struggle that Jonah had, as we'll see this Sunday. He's living before Christ, but he too was a recipient of grace, and he has forgotten who he was, he's forgotten who he is, and he's forgotten who God is. And I hope that this Sunday, if you'll join us at 10:30 at PBC Baptist, that you too will be confronted with that temptation to be a gospel amnesiac, and you will fight to remember who you were, who you are, and who God is. Hope to see you this Sunday.